Welcome. We're here to give you a clear, straightforward look at the proposed FY27 school budget and what it means for our community.
All right, so let's get right into it. To keep everything exactly the same as it is right now, our current staff, our programs, all of our services, we'd be looking at a budget increase of 7.7%. And to put a number on that, that's just over $4 million. Now, we absolutely know, that a 7.7% increase just isn't sustainable for our town's taxpayers. It's a really big number. And that's exactly why we've spent months putting together a responsible plan to close that gap. So the big question is, how do we get from that 7.7% all the way down to our final proposed increase of 3.08%? Well, that new number represents a much more manageable increase of about $1.6 million. And getting there took a really thoughtful three-part strategy. Okay, so let's break that down. Part one of our strategy is all about making responsible reductions. The whole idea here is to find the savings we need, but to do it in a way that protects the core classroom experience for our students as much as we possibly can. We're doing this with a two-tiered approach. So tier one, that's about not filling certain positions that are already vacant and reallocating some roles. And I want to be really clear, there are no layoffs in tier one. Now tier two, this is where the tougher decisions come in. It could, unfortunately, mean reductions that impact current staff, especially if we don't have enough voluntary departures to cover the gap. But reductions alone just aren't going to be enough to close the entire gap. So that brings us to the second part of our plan, which is looking for new sources of revenue so we can avoid making even deeper cuts to our programs. And as we looked at this, the central question we kept asking ourselves was, how can we possibly raise revenue while still holding true to our core value of inclusion? How do we make sure every single student has equitable access to opportunities? So here's what that looks like in practice. We're proposing new fees in three specific areas. First, a student activity fee for things like athletics and other extracurriculars. Second, a fee for student parking permits at the high school. And third, a voluntary device protection plan for school-issued tech. And this next part is absolutely critical. We can't stress this enough. For all of these new fees, there will be a confidential fee waiver process. The bottom line is this: no student will ever be prevented from participating in anything because their family can't afford it. All right, that brings us to the third and final piece of our strategy. This one is all about ensuring our district has long-term stability by using our resources wisely, especially when we're dealing with unpredictable costs.
A key part of this is the planned strategic use of our Special Education Stabilization Fund. Now, this isn't a regular bank account we dip into. Think of it more like a reserve fund, a critical safeguard we use for unforeseen and often mandated special education costs, which can be incredibly volatile.
And using this fund as a last resort is really just a responsible way to manage the budget. It's what prevents us from having to make sudden, really disruptive cuts to other essential programs across the district just because an unexpected special education need comes up. So, when you put it all together, the responsible reductions, the new revenue sources, and the strategic use of that stabilization fund, that is how we arrived at our final balanced budget request, an increase of 3.08%. Really, the key takeaway here is that we've worked incredibly hard to build a budget that's both educationally sound and fiscally responsible. It's a plan that we feel honors our commitments to our staff and our students, while also respecting the financial realities here in town. Ultimately, this balanced approach is all about maintaining the excellence we expect from our schools, while also ensuring the long-term financial health of our entire community. We really appreciate you taking the time to understand our proposal. Thank you.